Tale of the Wise Farmer and the Restless Village. In a picturesque village nestled between green hills and a shimmering river, lived an old farmer named Arjun. He was known for his wisdom, kindness, and unwavering patience. Arjun had lived a simple yet fulfilling life, cultivating his land and helping anyone in need. Though his house was modest, it radiated warmth, and his barn, though small, always seemed to hold enough grain to share with others. The villagers often turned to him for advice, for he had a knack for solving disputes and bringing peace. However, despite his contributions, a growing restlessness had taken root in the village. Many villagers envied one another, argued over trivial matters, and constantly sought shortcuts to wealth and success. The sense of community that once bound them began to fray. The golden opportunity. One day, news spread that a wealthy merchant was visiting the village to hire workers for a grand construction project in the city. The merchant offered high wages, far more than what the villagers earned from farming or fishing. Tempted by the promise of quick riches, many villagers lined up to apply for the job. When the merchant arrived, he announced a condition. Only those who can prove their trustworthiness and diligence will be hired. The villagers buzzed with excitement and worry. How could they prove their worth? Some boasted of their skills, while others began scheming to outshine their neighbors. Arjun, observing the commotion, decided to approach the merchant. "May I offer a suggestion?" he asked. The merchant, intrigued by the old farmer's reputation, nodded. "Go ahead." Arjun proposed a test. Leave a chest of gold coins in the village square for 1 week. Announce that the chest is a symbol of trust, and that anyone who takes even a single coin will be disqualified from the job. Let's see who can resist temptation. The merchant agreed, and the chest was placed under a canopy in the square. The villagers stared at it in awe, their eyes glinting with greed. The merchant declared, "This chest will remain here untouched. Remember, your actions will decide your future." The test of character. The first day passed without incident. People whispered and speculated, but no one dared approach the chest. However, as the days went by, the temptation grew unbearable for some. Late at night, a few villagers tried to sneak coins, believing no one would notice. Others, who caught them in the act, argued about whether to report the theft. Arjun silently observed the unfolding drama. He noticed that even those who didn't touch the chest began accusing others of dishonesty. Suspicion and mistrust spread like wildfire. On the 7th day, the merchant returned. The chest was opened, revealing that nearly half the coins were missing. Shock and shame rippled through the crowd. The merchant addressed the villagers sternly. "You failed this simple test of trust. Many of you allowed greed to cloud your judgment, and others let suspicion ruin your unity. I cannot hire workers who lack integrity." Disappointed, the merchant prepared to leave. But Arjun stepped forward once again. "Sir," he said, "not all of us are dishonest. Some have remained steadfast in their principles. May I suggest another test?" Reluctantly, the merchant agreed. The true test. Arjun proposed a different approach. He gave each villager a seed and instructed them to plant it in their gardens. "Care for this seed diligently," he said. "In 1 month, bring your plants to the square. The merchant will decide who is worthy based on the results." The villagers eagerly took their seeds home. This time, they were determined to prove themselves. Over the next month, they watered, weeded, and nurtured their plants with great care. However, one villager named Ravi noticed something unusual. Despite his efforts, his seed refused to sprout. Day after day, he watched the soil, hoping for a sign of life, but none came. Frustrated and embarrassed, Ravi considered planting a different seed to save face. But his conscience stopped him. I must remain honest, he thought. If my seed doesn't grow, so be it. When the month ended, the villagers gathered in the square with their plants. Most proudly displayed lush, green plants, while Ravi stood with an empty pot. The villagers mocked him. You can't even grow a plant. How do you expect to work in the city? The merchant inspected each plant carefully. Finally, he stopped in front of Ravi. Why did you bring an empty pot? He asked. Ravi bowed his head. I did everything I could to make the seed grow, but it didn't sprout. I couldn't bring myself to deceive you by planting another seed. The merchant's stern expression softened into a smile. You are the one I've been looking for, he declared. The seeds I gave you all were boiled and could not grow. Ravi was the only one honest enough to admit his failure. The rest of you tried to deceive me. The crowd fell silent, their faces red with shame. A lesson learned. The merchant hired Ravi and rewarded him generously. Before leaving, he addressed the villagers. Let this be a lesson. True success comes not from deception or shortcuts, but from integrity and hard work. After the merchant's departure, the village began to change. Inspired by Ravi's example and Arjun's wisdom, the villagers reflected on their actions and resolved to rebuild their sense of community. They learned to support one another, share their resources, and value honesty above all else. As for Arjun, he continued to guide the village, knowing that the seeds of wisdom he had planted were beginning to bear fruit. Moral of the story: honesty and integrity are the foundation of true success. Temptation and deceit may offer temporary gains, but only those who remain true to their principles will find lasting rewards.